On September 24th, 2013, two friends set out to hike in Idaho's Craters of the Moon National Monument, but they never returned. The remote volcanic landscape is known for its rugged terrain, lava fields, and extreme weather conditions. Their tragic disappearance underscores both the unforgiving nature of the monument and the dangers of venturing into the isolated wilderness without adequate preparation. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forest to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope you all had a happy and safe and maybe spooky Halloween last week. My name is Elise, and I'm your host. And thank you so much for joining me today. I just have to say, yes, I did change my intro. I didn't change any of the wording. I used a different audio file and re recorded it with my new microphone, which I hope still sounds good. When I record, it sounds like it literally can hear my heart beating, which is crazy. But also, I'm worried that my audio still doesn't sound great. So I don't know. Maybe drop me a comment if it sounds okay or if it's distorted. I don't know. I think I'm just thinking too much about it now. So let's hop into it today. So we are going to be discussing Craters of the Moon National Monument in Idaho. So, first, let's start off with some negative reviews. Our first review says, "Skip this place. We drove about an hour and a half out of our way to come here, only to find out that we have to pay $20 to visit the lava tubes. What a ripoff. This park shouldn't cost more than $5. We basically wasted 4 hours of our day just to look at the same kind of landscape we have in California. For the price they are charging, it is not worth it. You're better off driving across the border to Oregon, where you can visit lava tubes for free. Worst national park I've been to." Our next negative review says, "Small one road in and out, small parking lot, overcrowded, could not visit. Turned around with difficulty and left." And then our other review says, "It's not really what I thought it was, so dot dot dot." Our last review is just a single word and it says dirty. And I find the word dirty to be very funny to describe the outdoors because the outdoors are in fact dirty. So while that was a negative review, I feel it was also an accurate review of just the outdoors in general. Okay, so let's talk about Craters of the Moon National Monument and Preserve. It's a national monument and preserve in the Snake River Plain in central Idaho. The monument was established on May 2nd, 1924, and in November 2000, a presidential proclamation by President Clinton greatly expanded the monument area. It sits at 753,000 acres or 3,050 square kilometers. However, the rugged landscape of the monument itself remains remote and undeveloped, with only one paved road across the northern end. In 2020, about 250,000 visitors visited, and that it seems like a lot, but it's not really compared to other national monuments. The craters of the moon lava field spreads across 618 square miles or 1,601 square kilometers and is the largest, mostly Holocene age basaltic lava field in the contiguous United States. There are 60 distinct solidified lava flows that form this national monument, and they range in age from 15,000 to just 2,000 years old. The King's Bowl and Wapi lava fields, both around 2,200 years old, are a part of the National Preserve. The average temperature in September is 96 degrees to 36 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm putting this in here because our case takes place in September. So it can be really cold and it can also be really hot. There are varied weathered extremes in this national monument pretty much at any given point in the year. Paleo Indians visited the area about 12,000 years ago, but they did not leave much in the way of archaeological evidence. The northern Shoshone created trails through this lava field during their summer migrations from the Snake River to the Camas Prairie west of the lava field. Stone circles visible near Indian Tunnel were built by indigenous people. No evidence exists for permanent habitation by any Native American group. There's not really a lot here, so that makes sense as to why indigenous peoples and historic peoples did not settle, and they just used this to pass through to get to their hunting and gathering land, during their seasonal travels. The most recent volcanic eruptions ended about 2,100 years ago, and they were likely witnessed by the indigenous peoples. Ella E. Clark recorded a Shoshone story that speaks of a serpent on a mountain who, angered by lightning, coiled around and squeezed the mountain until liquid rock flowed. Fire shot from cracks and the mountain exploded. So, that is thought to be the indigenous story of the peoples who witnessed it, witnessed the last volcanic eruption in this area. Another fun fact about this national monument is that the Oregon Trail actually went through the northern part of it. Immigrants traveling in wagon trains on the Oregon Trail in the 1850s and 1860s followed an alternative route in the area that used trails left by the indigenous peoples, which skirted the jagged lava flows. This alternative route was later named Goodale's Cutoff, and a part of it is in the northern part of this national monument. The cutoff was created to reduce the possibility of conflict with the Shoshone along the Snake River, such as the skirmish that occurred near modern day Massacre Rock State Park. After gold was discovered in the Salmon River area of Idaho, a group of immigrants persuaded an Illinois born trapper and trader named Tim Goodale to lead them through the cutoff. A large wagon train left in July 1862 and met up with more wagons at Craters of the Moon lava field. There were 795 men and 300 women and children. So this was a very large group, and they didn't have really any troubles getting to their destination. Improvements were made to this cutoff, such as adding a ferry to cross the Snake River, and the ferry made it a very popular alternative route of the Oregon Trail. U.S. Army captain and Western explorer B.L.E. Bonneville visited the lava fields and other places in the western U.S. in the 19th century, and he actually wrote about his experiences in his diaries. Now, Washington Irving later used Bonneville's diaries to write The Adventures of Captain Bonneville, saying this unnamed lava field is a place, quote, where nothing meets the eye but a desolate and awful waste, where no grass grows nor water runs, and where nothing is to be seen but lava. So, that is a very accurate depiction of someone describing these lava fields back way back then. And still to this day, you could also take that same statement and apply it now, and it would be still accurate. If you've ever seen a lava field, you will know that there's no water, there are very little plant life, and there's not a lot of animals either. There are some, like small mice, rats, little creatures, but nothing of size for to sustain life. Many settlers tried to use it to graze cattle, but they found it unsuitable and they eventually left the area. The few European immigrants who visited the area in the 19th century, they created local legends that it looked like the surface of the moon. And I think this is so funny because this is way before we knew anything really about space or even had pictures of the moon. And they just decided that this is what the moon looked like. And so geologist Harold T. Stearns coined the name Craters of the Moon in 1923 because he was trying to convince the National Park Service to recommend protection of, of this area so that it could be a national monument. From 1969 to 1972, NASA visited the moon through the Apollo program and found that its surface does not closely resemble this part of Idaho. While the moon's craters are largely impact craters, those seen at craters of the moon were instead created by volcanic eruptions. Apollo astronauts Alan Shepard, Edgar Mitchell, Eugene Cernan, and Joe Engle performed part of their training at Craters of the Moon lava field by learning to look for and collect good rock specimens in an unfamiliar and harsh environment. It's a great place to stargaze because there's like no light pollution out there. And in 2017, the monument was designated as an international dark sky park by Dark Sky International due to its exceptional preservation of its naturally dark night skies. Because this environment is so harsh, all the organisms that live in and around craters of the moon are under great environmental stress due to constant dry winds and heat absorbing black lava that tends to quickly zap water from all living things. This has a lot of tongue twisters, so just bear with me today. Summer soil temperatures often exceed 150 degrees Fahrenheit or 66 degrees Celsius, and plant cover is generally less than 5% on cinder cones and about 15% over the entire park. Despite it being a very harsh environment, there are a lot of species that call this park home. There are 2,000 species of insects, 12 reptiles, 203 birds, 59 mammals, and 3 amphibians. Birds and rodents are seen most frequently in this park. Grizzly bears, bison, and bighorn sheep once roamed this area, but have long ago become locally extinct. There are 11 species of bats recorded in this area, and this is like the perfect place for them to live because there are lots of lava tubes, and so they sleep and hibernate in a lot of these lava tubes. In terms of outdoor recreation, there is backcountry hiking, and it's a very large backpacking area. There are only two trails that enter the wilderness area, and the Wilderness Trail and Tree Molds Trail and even those that stop after a few miles. So there are short trails and there are pretty long trails. But honestly, I don't know anyone that would want to hike in the summer here if the soil is 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Can you imagine? You would just feel the heat radiating off of the ground just by standing on it. It would be so hot. So let's get into our case. Today, we are going to discuss the case of two friends who went out for a hike and never came back. Their names were Jodine K. Elliott Blakesley and Amelia Linkert. And Dr. Jodine, she went by Jo, and she was 63, and she was a physician at the Snake River Correctional Institution in Ontario, Oregon, and Amelia, she went by Amy. She was 69 and she was actually retired from teaching at Lowell Scott Middle School in Meridian, Idaho. They both had noble jobs and they made a huge positive impact in their communities. I don't know how these women became friends or how long they were friends for. None of that information was available online. But what I do know is that they left Boise, Idaho on September 13th, 2013 to visit Craters of the Moon National Monument and Preserve. They were spotted at a campground in Arco, Idaho, about 18 miles away from Craters on September 19th. Police say that they found receipts from Craters of the Moon Visitor Center indicating they were at the monument on Tuesday, September 24th. Employees who worked with Dr. Joe called the police when she failed to show up at work. This was highly unusual for her. She was very prompt, and she didn't miss work without letting other people know. So it's really, really awesome that her employees and employees that worked with her knew that this was out of character and they immediately alerted authorities. They were reported missing on Tuesday, September 24th, and their vehicle was later found at the Tree Molds Trail parking lot, which is a popular trailhead within the monument. This trail, from the National Park Service, it says that it's 2 miles or 3.2 kilometers, and it takes about 60 to 90 minutes round trip. That seems like a lot for a 2-mile trail, but maybe it's more of like one of those nature trail walks where you can read those like signs about the environment. The elevation gain is only 108 feet or 33 meters. So, again, not a difficult trail at all. This is what the National Park Service says about the trail. This trail winds through shrubs and stands of limber pine within craters of the Moon Wilderness before reaching the edge of the Blue Dragon Flow. While still molten, this lava flow knocked down and ignited trees. The charred tree trunks left impressions in the lava rock. In other places, the trees remained standing as the lava encased them, leaving vertical molds in the cooling lava. The tree molds can be seen at the end of the trail, which is 1 mile from the trailhead. So, this trail is easy. I would say that this trail is easy. Have I done this trail? No. But 1 mile in and 1 mile out with only 108 feet of elevation gain, that is pretty flat. When police found their car, it wasn't like abandoned, but it was parked at this trailhead. Both of their dogs, cell phones, and other items were found inside the truck at the trailhead. The fact that they left their 2 dogs behind suggested that they didn't plan to be gone for long. And honestly, it is I don't like, it's such a I don't wanna say miracle because I don't know, I just think it's awesome that the employees reported her missing ASAP, because imagine if those dogs were just in there for days, they would have probably died. So they go to do this trail. It's easy, it's just a little stroll. They leave their dogs in the car, imagining that they're gonna go out and back pretty quickly. Joe and Amy's family said that they wouldn't go off trail or out of sight of the track because their dogs were in the car. Tammy Kirklow, who's Amy's niece, said they were both missionaries. They're both avid hikers and survivalists. This is very strange. To have their phones, I mean, I know they probably wouldn't work in the caves, but to leave them in the truck, that's strange to us. So, knowing this information, the search and rescue team, they actually searched with that information in mind. The search was concentrated in a 5 square mile area on the south end of the monument near the tree molds, broken top loop, and wilderness trails. The search area was rugged, often dangerous territory, and prone to unpredictable weather. But searchers didn't find them despite the intense search effort, which saw about 6,000 volunteer search hours. Unfortunately, the federal government was shut down at the time due to a funding crisis, and that meant that the search started nearly a week later on October 1st. So they were reported missing September 24th, and no searching started until October 1st due to the federal government shutdown. Fortunately, there were some park rangers that searched for them on their own without anybody else's assistance. 10 Park Service rangers continued to look for Joe and Amy on foot without access to government resources such as helicopters, dogs, or planes. And they actually did this before the official search began. This is super unfortunate because I can't help but wonder if the government wasn't shut down, if they would have been found sooner or even found alive. On September 25th, 2013, in a lava field northwest of the Tree Molds Trail, they found Amy Linkert's body. She was found face up on the lava, wearing only a short sleeve shirt and pants without a jacket, backpack, food, or water. She had none of that. Rescuers believe she became disoriented while possibly searching for help and died of exposure. Authorities did not suspect foul play in her death. And initially, the searchers thought that they had found Joe, as there was no identification on the body. But dental records later confirmed that the body was Amy's. The search continued to find Joe, and it took about a month for searchers to finally find Joe about a mile from the location of Amy's body in October 2013. It was 2.5 miles from the pickup in an area that had overflights from search helicopters for the past month in an area where the rock obscured the body. So they had been flying over her body searching for her for a month, but because of the terrain and the lava flow, did not see her, and it took a month to find her because searchers had to find her on the ground. Now, both Joe and Amy, they both appeared to have died from exposure, and they did show signs of dehydration. No one really knows much else. There's a theory, like the theory is that one of them became injured and the other one went to get help, but we really don't know what happened out there in the lava fields. That's pretty much all we know about this case. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, oh, this is so rare. This never happens. But if you're an outdoors and morbid enthusiast like I am, you know that this happens so often. People go into terrains that they're unfamiliar with, they're not prepared for, and they perish. And it is so sad. And that is why outdoors safety and preparedness skills are so important for anyone who's going to be recreating outside. Even though you think you're going for an easy 2-mile walk, it might not be that way once you get out there. So, let's talk about the factors that might have had a lot to do with this story, this tragedy that ended the lives of two very important women. The lava fields of craters of the moon, they can be disorienting because there's black volcanic rock stretching for miles, and there are not a lot of landmarks to guide the way. It's believed that Amy and Joe may have strayed from the trail, lost their bearings, and wandered too far to find their way back. There was no shade, they didn't have any food or water, and the environment could have quickly overwhelmed them. September in Idaho can bring dramatic swings in temperature. Like I said earlier, the average daily temperature in September, oh my God, so tongue twister. The average daily temperatures in September can range from 96 degrees Fahrenheit to 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Daytime heat can turn into near freezing nights, leaving Amy and Joe vulnerable to hyperthermia or heat exhaustion. If Joe and Amy were caught unprepared, the elements alone may have been what sealed their fate. Search teams found evidence suggesting that they had wandered extensively. It's possible they continued moving, hoping to find their way out, but exhaustion and dehydration eventually overcame them. Exposure to the relentless sun and cold nights would have accelerated their decline. And guys, I think many of you know this, but if you get lost in the wilderness, stay put. Stay put. That is how searchers I mean, they start at a certain point, searchers do, and they go off of the information that they know and they have, and if you're still wandering around, you might be getting further away from from where they will be searching. This comes with a caveat of when it's been long enough, you have to self-rescue. This case, I think they were trying to self-rescue, but it hadn't even been a day, and they were still wandering and wandering, and they were getting further and further away from the trail. But rather than one single cause, their deaths may have resulted from a series of smaller mistakes: underestimating the terrain, carrying too little water, not marking their route, and pressing on despite deteriorating conditions. In survival situations, a cascade of small decisions can and often does become fatal. The story of Joe Elliott Blakesley and Amy Linkert is a heartbreaking reminder of how quickly adventure can turn into tragedy. Craters of the Moon is a place that feels otherworldly, shaped by fire and stone, but it's also unforgiving to those who lose their way. Their disappearance and death left behind grief, questions, and a cautionary tale about the power of nature. As we remember them, we're also reminded to respect these wild places. Places like Craters of the Moon National Monument, they're beautiful, mysterious, and they can be deadly. If you visit, go prepared, stay aware, and never underestimate the landscape. Because even in places that look frozen in time, danger can just be right around the corner. Always check the weather, carry plenty of water, and make sure someone knows your plans. A map, compass, or GPS isn't just a backup, it can save your life when the trail disappears. Travel with a buddy when you can, and never underestimate how quickly conditions can change. Respect the land, respect your limits, and remember, nature will always have the final say. Staying prepared doesn't take away the adventure, it ensures you make it back to tell the story. As always, recreate responsibly and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Well, everyone, I do hope that you had a great Halloween. I am recording this the morning after Halloween, and I really didn't do much last night. My husband and I, we went to Sundance Resort and we rode the ski lift. They do like a haunted house kind of ski lift thing. It was fun. It was so cold. And then we came home and handed out candy to trick or treaters. Our neighborhood had a lot more trick-or-treaters than last year, and even my neighbor, who's lived here for, like, 20 years, said it was unreal how many kids were in the neighborhood trick-or-treating. The neighborhood I live in is primarily older people that have lived here for, like, 20 to 50 years, and so there aren't a lot of kids around, but last night there were, so it was super fun. I am already planning my travels and backpacking trips for next summer. Super stoked about that. And hopefully, I won't have to backpack alone for every trip that I plan next summer. I don't know if this makes me like, I don't know, like even a term to call it, but I've already started my 2026 trails list on All Trails. I have trails that I wanna do that I didn't get to this year or just haven't, and so I think I already have, like, 12 or 15 trails on there just for next year. Super stoked. That number will go up, as I find more trails, but I'm excited because this past summer, I actually met this wonderful woman on the trail, and she was hiking alone with her dog, and I was also hiking alone, and we stopped, we chatted, now we're Facebook friends, and we're gonna go backpacking together next summer. And that just speaks to the power of the outdoors. You connect with people that you might not ever would have met. And I actually have several stories like that where I meet people out in the wilderness, we chat, we have a lot in common. And I love it. I love connecting with strangers. I love, strangers are just a friend that you don't know yet, right? So it's great. And I'm excited for next summer. It might seem crazy that I'm already planning out my hikes and trails, but hey, when the summer is so short, like it is in Utah, you have to have a strategic plan because where I'm going backpacking, it's often still covered in snow in June. So you pretty much have July and that's it because then the nights get too cold. I don't want to sleep outside when it's already like 25 degrees at night. It's just that's too cold for me. I love the outdoors, but I don't like the cold. And so I try to go, but then, when you go earlier, there's a freak ton of mosquitoes. So can't win, right? Anyways, I hope you guys are all doing so well. I am looking forward to Thanksgiving. Some of you might celebrate it, some of you might not. That is totally fine. I hope with whatever holidays that are coming up that you celebrate, that you're safe, happy, and healthy. And I will talk to you next week. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Get out there or just rest and relax. Listen to your body. Okay, guys, I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. You can also join us on Patreon for early and ad free content. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.